Welcome to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. Today is episode number 124, and I am going to introduce you to a very, very special person. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, how are you today? It's a beautiful, breezy summer day in St. Louis. I'm having such a great summer, and one of the things that I'm really enjoying the most are my grandkids. They are so sweet, and I actually had one of them spend the night at my house 2 nights ago. I'm still recovering. Sebastian spent the night, and he's going through a really special phase right now where he doesn't actually want to go to sleep at night. So me and my husband, Michael, had the privilege of being up a very long time trying to get him to bed. So I still feel a little tired, but oh my gosh, the next day we went to the butterfly house and there were butterflies everywhere. If you have never been to the butterfly house, at the zoos, they're all over the place, I know, around the country. But you've got to go sometimes if you like butterflies. I love butterflies. I think they are magical. I think they are spiritual. And when I'm around them, my energy soars. And when you walk into these conservatories, there are butterflies in masses and they just fly around you. And between the two of us, our excitement and our giddiness was, well, I don't know what to tell you. It was off the charts. Anyway, I digress a little bit, but I'm pretty crazy about my grandson, so I had to tell you. But today, I really do have another special client. And I tell you this a lot, but every single client that I work with, I do love. And this client, her name is Barb, is absolutely no exception. She finished the program a few weeks ago, and she is just doing so beautifully. And she has so many nuggets that she talked to me about. She was inspiring me as we are talking, especially in our last session, that I thought that if she would be willing, which she was, to share some of this with you, it really might help you, because I think we all start about in the same place on our journeys of this whole thing about food and weight and our bodies. And what I want for all of you and for her is to be able to have peace and trust and confidence around food with our bodies in any situation at any time. And she is no different. And I think that her story will motivate you and inspire you, because it really does me. And one of the things about her that I think is really interesting is that she didn't really have very much weight to lose, like 5 pounds, I think. But those 5 pounds for her, she's 58 now, and she said she started this whole thing about food and about her body when she was, I think she said 8 or 9 years old. She's had 50 years of crappy thinking, excuse my language, but terrible thinking around her body and food, and 50 years of trying to figure it out and exhausting herself. And in fact, in her pre-work that she did for me, one of the questions that I ask is, what is your story on how you gained this weight? And what she put is, she said, I think menopause, and I thought I was just tired of making food behave. Life is too short. What the heck? Eat a cookie. That's what she wrote. And I know many of you have so much more weight to lose, but what I want you to see, that it's not the amount of weight that you have to lose, it's the amount of the burden in your mind that you have to lose. And that is what she talks about today. So I am going to just stop talking now, and I am going to let you enjoy the interview. And at the end of the interview, I'll come on and I'll just say a few things. Enjoy. Okay. Hello, Barb. Welcome to the show.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I've been a listener for quite a while.
Yeah, and that's really a good place to start as I think about this, because how long do you think you were listening to my podcast before you actually hired me?
Oh, probably a year.
A year. Okay, so then here is my first question. Why did you decide after a year to hire me?
I first stepped into the circle of doing a mini session with you because I felt like I have nothing to lose by doing this. And I need to step out of the box and see if I can once and for all be on my last diet. That was my goal.
And so after we had our mini session, and everybody probably who's listening to this knows that I offer mini sessions, what was it? I mean, like, number one, after a year, why did you decide to do a mini session?
I think that I truly, the desire to not be on that wheel
Yeah.
of trying the next diet and what's out there for me to try to manipulate my food. I think the desire to not have to do that anymore and use that much of my energy was the motivator to say, well, give it a try.
What was the thing that resonated the most with you when you were listening to my podcast? Because if you were like wanting to get off of the wheel and wanting to stop manipulate food, what was it that got your attention?
What really got my attention was the aha that there's not an action plan. Like if you drink 4 ounces of juice before you eat your meal, and if you manipulate this, and if you try this plan, and I can tell you about every recent and older diet plans. It was not about that. It's bigger than that. What are you thinking around food?
What are you thinking more than what are you eating? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. And like from the pre-work that you sent me, once you decided to hire me, you had so much fear and resistance, around eating and around what to eat and when to eat. And it's not like you really had that much weight to lose, but this actually was a struggle about food for you for like how many years?
I would say till I go back in my memory, probably in 7th or 8th grade.
7th or 8th grade. And if you don't mind telling us, how old are you now?
So I'm 58.
So you're 58. So basically for 50 years, you had this kind of like a wrestling match with your body, with food, what to do, what not to do. And it's not like you had that much weight to lose, right?
I did not, but it was a constant search for the correct way to eat but it was always done with willpower, which I have learned does not work if you listen to enough podcasts.
Yeah.
And it was always done with way too much thought process on the action step.
What to do, what to eat.
What to do, what to eat, how to measure it. And obviously I was fairly successful at it if I was maintaining weight well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lot of time and energy.
Yeah. And so like for a lot of people who are listening, some people have a lot of weight to lose and some people don't have a lot of weight to lose. But I think what everybody is searching for, and I think that's what you were, was to have peace and total confidence in yourself around food and around your body.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it does feel fabulous.
Yes. And that's what we want to talk about is this process that you went through of how you feel fabulous now. And I guess it really starts with what you explained to me on one of our conversations is how you looked at a coach and your explanation of why you decided to hire me as a coach and how you would define a coach for getting help. And then what stopped you from getting a coach. So first, why did you hire a coach and what is a coach?
So that's really interesting because there's a little bit of it was an out of the box thought process for me to help a coach with my mind per se, which then when I stood back and reflected, I'm an athlete and have run many, many marathons and participated in many things. And I've often used a coach. I have a personal trainer for my weightlifting, which is a coach. But when it came to looking at a coach for kind of the rest, some of the other parts of my life, I was always like, that's not me. Mm-hmm. As if there was something different about it. And there really isn't anything different. And what a coach can do, just like if you're lifting weights and you're using bad form, they can say, you're using bad form and you need to do this and this and this that can help correct your form. And then you practice that. Well, it's the same with your coaching. I would say something and you would be like, no, that's a thought. And I'd be like, no, it's not. And then you think it through and you're like, oh yeah, that is a thought. And so then I could practice it. It gave me tools that I could work on and practice. So it was really no different, but it's funny to me that I had this negative connotation about needing help with a part of my life. And it was kind of a secret part of my life because I was able to maintain my weight. I don't think people realized how much thought and energy went into fighting what I was eating or not eating.
You could weigh what you wanted to weigh, but the energy that it took was exhausting to you.
Extremely.
I think a lot of people have, sometimes don't understand. They'll see somebody. I mean, I have a lot of clients that say, oh, somebody that looks like they're at a natural weight, oh, they can just do anything they want. You might have been one of those people that other people would look at and go, oh, she's got it all together. Look at her.
Oh, absolutely.
And yet inside your mind and the pre-work that you did was total chaos and suffering around this.
And the word that I used a ton was exhausting.
Exhausting, which really
I got to let go of my exhaustion.
Yes, it's like every single phone call we would have, I would say, how are you? And you would say, exhausted.
Yeah,
exhausted.
Absolutely.
Right? And which now, if I would ask you how you are, what would you probably say?
Fabulous. I think that's what I said when we first got on the phone.
I think it is what you said. So here's the question. Why do you think that because you have a very busy life, you do a lot of help for people and you have a wonderful foundation. And so you do a lot of things for a lot of people and you have a big family and you've adopted children. So I think that is why you thought and felt exhausted all the time is because you had such a big life.
No, that's not at all. And it's interesting because I don't ever use the term busy. I always use the term full. I have a full life and I'm very grateful for it.
Yes, you've told me that too.
Yes, but it's different when you have this kind of mind battle with something that you're doing every day of your life, which is eating. And so that took up a space that I would rather, I run a nonprofit, I'm a nurse practitioner, I teach community health nursing. I have lots of other interests. I don't want to use my brain space on should I be drinking smoothies with how much grams of protein powder. I mean, that's a lot of, I could tell you about, I really could tell you, I could tell you about every diet on the planet, some good, some not good.
Yes. And so that is where you were putting a lot of your mental internal energy was there instead of in your full life.
Yes.
Yeah.
What a waste.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I think is so fascinating to talk about is that dinner time for you, because a lot of times the fogging that you would do with eating would come like after dinner.
Well, mine was actually that I called it that bewitching time. So from the time you walked in the door from work and you needed to get that meal on the table and provide everybody's needs, et cetera, and would be putting Oreo cookies in my mouth, which is interesting because I really don't even like Oreos. That's what's so sad. It was like, what the heck is this? And that was fogging. I could fog the whole time I was making dinner. And then still eat dinner. And it was just this very stressful, your stomach is churning.
Your stomach, right?
My stomach is churning. Yes. You're standing there and my stomach is churning and I'm exhausted. I want to just lay down.
But you had this dinner you had to cook and these things that you had to do, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
And so probably due to the feeling of exhaustion that you were having because of all the things you still had to do, you would be eating as you were going through this to try to help yourself feel better while you were doing all these things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how did that change? Because that's pretty fascinating.
Yes. And that really changed because I used the model and kind of broke everything down. And that in that area, it was so evident. It was my thought.
Which was what?
My thought was that this was all my responsibility, that, I was responsible for what everybody put in their mouths. And it was, part of my big job. And I needed to make sure everything was healthy. And I put all of this on myself. And that was in my thought process. That wasn't the fact. It wasn't the circumstance.
How many people were you feeding? That was the circumstance. What was that?
So I have 9 children. So that's a lot of children.
It's good to talk about this because
yeah, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
But most of the time, because I have ones that have been out of the house and stuff, it's probably 7 people. But it wasn't all my job. I changed my thought process, took a lot of pressure off of myself.
Which is a fascinating thing, that nothing changed in your life. You still have the exact same amount of people sitting at your table. And the only thing that changed was the way that you looked at and thought about what you were doing and who you were feeding and what. So how did you change that?
So I changed it by delegating. I kind of looked at the rest of my family and said, everyone else needs to take some responsibility here.
Okay, so let me interrupt for 1 minute. So what you decided to do was to delegate, but the delegating, which is the doing, so it's the action part of the model. How did you change your thinking so you could do that? Because before, you could never do that before. You thought it was your responsibility to do that for them.
And that's what I changed my thought pattern. This is not all my responsibility. And I can't be responsible also for what other people eat or don't eat. I can only be responsible for me. And that was a big lesson.
And that you could totally believe that. Because when we first started with that, you were kind of a little iffy about, I don't know about that.
I had to do the model and do the model and do the model.
And when we talk about the model, we're talking about the thought processes that go through your mind that create feelings and actions. And that's in the beginning, since you felt, and I'm sure there are a lot of mothers out there that think it's their responsibility to get that food into their children's mouth and that they should be cooking all these different meals, right?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
So, how do you think now? Because now you don't think, you still love them just as much as you've always loved them, right? It's not that you don't love them. I think a lot of people think I'm showing them how much I love them by doing this for them when you can't control what goes into their mouth. So how did you change that?
So I changed it because my thought process changed and I looked at it as a really joyful time to be together. And so it's more upbeat and not this dread that I have. And I simplified things. Extremes, simplification. There's some very basic little meals you can make that everybody eats and everybody's fine and yahoo.
Mm-hmm. But it's almost like you just didn't feel like it was all on your shoulders anymore and that you could actually enjoy your family when you were sitting around eating dinner with them instead of worried about who's doing what and what they're eating and did you do everything you're supposed to do. You decided to change your thinking more into the joyful process of being with your family.
Correct. And my husband does 2 meals a week now.
Because you asked him.
Yes. And I don't comment on them. And, there's times he runs out and gets everybody Jimmy John's and that's great. That's his night.
If anybody knew you when we first started talking, that's the only way they can understand what a change that is for you, because I know that it really doesn't bother you. And I know you think everything's going to be okay anyway, right? Like you don't have to control every little thing that goes on with dinner.
Yeah, because, and I think we talked at our very end, I talked about the CTFing things, the circumstance, the thought, and the feeling. And very often, in the beginning, I could catch myself going, oh, I got to CTF this because it's not the circumstance. It's not factual what I'm the thought that I have.
Mm-hmm.
That it cannot be proved in court.
It's your responsibility to take care of everybody and nobody else
Yeah,
could do it.
absolutely. That
Right.
can't be proved in court. That's not true.
Correct. That was just a thought that was running around in your head for many, many years. And the only person that was exhausted and suffering was you.
Correct.
Wow. And now you change that, totally believe it, and you feel fabulous and you're enjoying your family like you have never enjoyed them before.
Especially the mealtime, that dinner time. I do not have that exhaustion.
You do not have that exhaustion, and you also don't feel the need to eat Oreos anymore. Am I right?
No, I have not fogged for a long time.
Ah, isn't that just wonderful?
It is. It feels really good. And the more you don't fog, the more you don't fog. It's interesting to me. The more you don't do it, the more you don't do it. And it wasn't a willpower thing. Like I'm not gonna. We still have Oreos in the cabinet. We still have everything that we've always had, but there's really no desire. And when I listened to the podcast and I heard you say that, and I heard other people say that, I was like, I don't get this. What do you mean no desire? And then when you experience it, you're like, there is no desire. And they're just fine where they are. I don't have any feelings about them at all.
Isn't that something that Oreos are just Oreo cookies and that's all they are? And there's absolutely no emotion behind them anymore?
Yeah. No, none.
Yes. And that is really what I hope for all of my clients, but for you especially. In the beginning, it was like you really didn't think that you could do it.
It was foreign because I wanted action. I wanted that action step.
You wanted to know what to do. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Just tell me I'm a really good person at doing what you tell me to do.
Correct. But it wasn't, that's what I did not need that. I needed to learn about my thoughts.
Yes. And I do believe you have.
Yes. And the interesting thing at this point, I'm applying the process more to the rest of my life than to food.
Aha. Say more about that.
So, I mean, there's so many things in your life that you put feelings around that are because of the thoughts that you have. With your thoughts, again, may not be factual. They're just thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So aside from, food decisions, because I'm kind of past that.
You could say that with pride, darling. It's like food is just food. I'm kind of past the whole food thing,
Yeah,
but
I don't even, it's not even something that I'm spending any energy on at all anymore, which is awesome. It really is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, so, one of the things I'm thinking about when you think about different parts of your life, and I know it's not food, but I did want to touch on wine drinking just a little bit because one of the things about you that came up a lot in the beginning was the thing about people pleasing for you. And I think that's what you're talking about when you're talking about your life is that a lot of things that you were doing, and even when you're referring to dinner, it was, pleasing other people, making sure everything was okay. And when it came to drinking wine, I want you to talk about that a little bit because I have a lot of people that either don't want to drink or want to calm down how much they drink. And a lot of people drink because they like either not feeling what they're feeling or to get a little buzz from the drinking that they're doing. But for you, it was very different. And I would love for you to explain because you did drink wine on occasion, but would you mind sharing why you drank wine and why you decided to not to drink wine?
Yes, and that was a funny kind of aha. I was like, oh my gosh, because I never really thought about it. So really, I'm actually not one that, the buzz was important, nor was the emotion. I didn't have a lot of emotion around drinking, but I felt like I needed to drink because it was socially going on around me and I would make other people feel uncomfortable or I would be maybe judged socially. So it was that fear of kind of disappointing others.
Yeah, which came up a lot in our coaching with you around your life.
Did. And even with good friends that, invited me over for a glass of wine. Like, what was I going to do? What was I going to say? Like, I'm not drinking wine.
Like, oh my God, I could never say that.
Yeah. And and those are just thoughts. I mean, obviously, if I'm having, sparkling water or green tea, I'm still socializing with my great friend and enjoying it. So I never was actually drinking wine for maybe some of the reasons others are. It was just because it was socially an expectation, and I didn't want to disappoint anybody.
Yeah. So how did you change? I mean, this is really important because for some people, it may not be wine. It may be just going out to dinner with somebody or going to somebody's house and they're cooking something and it's something that you don't like or you can't eat or whatever. And you'll eat it in spite of everything because you don't want to either be judged or you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings or whatever it is. How did you change? Because this was big for you. How did you change your thinking around that?
And that was big for me. And I think we had a few coaching sessions that were like, because I wanted to have an excuse that I was ready to give. I wanted the action again.
Yes, you did.
What do I say?
Yes.
I want the action instead of, first of all, coming to the realization that really no one really cares if I have something to drink or not to drink, or if I have dessert or not have dessert. I'm the only one that cares about what I'm having.
Is the way you started changing your thinking.
I started changing my thinking. Absolutely. And I don't need to make an excuse or have something set up or anything. Just no, thank you.
That was huge for you because in the beginning you were telling me your long scenarios about when if somebody would offer you a glass of wine and you weren't going to drink it, what you had to say in order to just say no.
Correct. And the funny thing is I had to post on my bathroom mirror a Post-it note that no is not mean. I don't know if you remember that part.
I do remember that.
I had to get that into my mind that's not being mean. No, thank you. I don't care for any today. Or wow, that look, and I would even, if it was somebody that made this great dessert, oh, wow, you are such a talented baker. But that doesn't mean I had to eat it.
This is so revolutionary. And I just know that people are listening to this either going, I don't know if I could ever do that, or they're seeing themselves in you and going, well, wow. I mean, they may not even know they're thinking these things. And so just you coming up and talking about that, this is the way I used to think. And now I think like this, I think will be really helpful. And, is it like for you, do you still feel like you need to make people happy, that you think it's your job to do that?
No. So that's a big thing. And I have to continue. That's one of those areas where I have to continue to be aware of my thought and my feeling and put it back to, I'm always asking myself, in a court of law, is this a fact?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so like a lot of things that we're talking about when we're talking about the difference between circumstances and facts, when we're talking about our model and how we think, is that many things that we think about ourselves, we think are just facts about us, when in fact there are sentences that are running around our head that basically we made up and we're creating a whole life around it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that is probably what you're talking about, that you've changed the most and why you feel like your life is so different, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And like one of the things that you were saying when we first got on the phone is you go, food's just really no big deal now.
It isn't any big deal. And yeah. And so there's a part of me that thinks, oh, I can't believe I did that all those years. And then I remind myself that was part of my journey. And so
I like that.
I'm thankful for the journey, and that, this is the last time I ever have to, and it's more than just losing weight, that I have to ever use my energy on the whole topic.
Wow. I think that is amazing. So one of the things that I had you do, one of the last tools that I had you do was write why this is the last time you'll ever have to do this again. And can you give me just a few points? You wrote something so beautiful, and I'm actually going to do it on a podcast because it was written so beautifully. But if you could just give us just a few reasons why this is the last time that you'll ever have to lose weight again or spend energy on your body or food. Can you just tell us a few things about your journey, about why you know this?
So I know this because food is food. It doesn't have any power, or it doesn't have any ability to make me do or not do something. And so when I realized that my thoughts were interfering with how my body works, my body was created to be, healthy and well. And I very much appreciate wellness. And that's a gift. And my body will tell me when it is hungry and when it is full. And I can listen to it. I can trust it. I don't need to, look at the newest fad and jump on a bandwagon to try to use my energy for an action step. So it is the last time, because my body was created beautifully.
Wow. And I guess the best thing that what you just said is that you can trust it.
I can trust it, yes. And I've never trusted it.
I have chills on that one. It's interesting. I was reading your pre-work, and one of the questions on the pre-work was, what would motivate you beyond doubt to lose weight? And you wrote, free my mind of thinking about calories, protein, fat, carbs, sugar, etc. Listen, and using that energy for much more satisfying thoughts like love.
Yes, absolutely. And I got there. What a great vision.
I know it. It's almost like what you're talking about in this podcast is exactly what would motivate you beyond a doubt to do it. And that's exactly where you are.
Yes. Yes.
And that is, oh my God. I mean, what a beautiful way to end this interview with just reading what you wrote when you first started. And to see you now and hear you now, and everything that you've said is exactly what you've given yourself.
What a gift. And thank you for your coaching and your help. And coaches are something that I've learned that we can all use in many different areas of our lives. It's probably a newer concept for some people, but if you think back, for athletes, it's been there forever.
I know, we were talking about that. It's like and the more advanced the athlete is, the more sure they're going to have a coach.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Absolutely.
And they never think, how come I can't do this by myself? It's like a given that they would get a coach.
Correct.
Right. And that's what you were talking to me about, which really got my mind going at the beginning, was the whole idea is, well, if the better the athlete, the more they're going to use a coach. Why wouldn't I do the same thing?
Yeah. The better person I'm becoming, you need a coach to get to the next level.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you something, Barb. It was absolutely one of the most beautiful things that I've done was working with you in many, many ways. And I think that the love that you talk about and how important it is to you shows up in so many different areas, but in every single session that we did, I felt it.
Well, thank you. And I felt your sincere desire for me to succeed. Even when you were like, no, you're not, that's not right. I'd be like, oh, I was, scribbling notes and putting words down, but that's what you need. That's what a coach does.
Yeah. And the other thing is that your commitment was 100%.
Yes, because I was going to do it.
You were going to do it. And I think that's also something very, very important to consider, is that once you decided to hire a coach, and once you decided that you couldn't do it by yourself, you also decided that you were going to do whatever it took to get there.
Correct. Getting it done.
And you got it done and you did it. And so I think for anybody that's considering doing this, I think the most important thing is knowing that you're 100% all in on yourself.
Absolutely. It's a good feeling.
I know. I love talking to you.
Yes. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Barb. And you're off on your own now, and I miss you, but I am so happy for you. And thank you for taking the time on this podcast.
Still listening to the podcast.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Barb.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, what did I tell you again? Barb is amazing. She is filled with love from top to bottom. And in fact, the name of her organization is Love Takes Root. I love that. She does so much good work. But what I wanted you to see the most about her was how much suffering went on in her mind for so many years about what to eat, when to eat, and how to eat. And that she spent so much of her energy on that she was exhausted all of the time just from all that mental energy. And now she feels, as she put it, fabulous. So I just want you to know that it doesn't matter if you have 100 pounds to lose or 5 pounds to lose. If that burden is up in your head and you've been carrying it around for a long time, there is hope. And just like Barb said, athletes hire coaches all the time. We hire coaches to train our bodies all the time. Why don't we start thinking about hiring coaches to help us manage our own minds so that we can enjoy our own lives and put food where it belongs? Fuel. Period. End of statement. She couldn't have put it more beautifully. Now, this is what I want to offer you today. If you think you're one of those people like Barb that thought she should be able to do it on her own, and you've been listening to me a long time and you haven't, then maybe it is time to hire a coach. And here I am. All you have to do is do what Barb did, which was sign up for a mini session where you can talk to me and find out if you would be a good fit for my program. And if I think you would be a good fit, I'll tell you, because usually I can tell. And if you're willing to be 100% committed to yourself, you can be a whole lot just like Barb. Food can just be food. That's all. And your life can be amazing. So if this sounds interesting to you, you know you can go to drdebbutler.com/work with me and set up a mini session. It's free. And as Barb said, what have you got to lose? And until next week, there's only one other thing I have to say to you. I want you to be very, very kind to yourself. Bye-bye.
To get a free copy of Dr. Deb's companion workbook with all the tools, homeworks, and discussions that she uses in her podcast with all of her private clients, please go to drdebbutler.com/change. This will make it even easier to follow along with her in future broadcasts.